What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today we're going to be talking about The Witcher 3 comparison to that of The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim in terms of its crafting mechanics, more so when it comes to armor, weapons, and other enhancements in these two games. So what I want to start here is that I want to talk about the armor specifically right now. And what I want to show you is that in my inventory, I actually have a gear set which is called the Order of the Flaming Rose armor. I literally had to make another piece of heavy armor boots and heavy armor trousers basically to make it very similar to that of the Order of the Flaming Rose set that I have equipped. No, or unequipped, excuse me. So we are going to equip these. And what's really nice about this gear set, it also has to do with what kind of resistances or any other type of stats that these pieces of gear are able to pertain to a certain type of playstyle. We will eventually delve right into certain types of playstyles along with different gear sets within the world of The Witcher 3. Now, what I want to discuss here though too, now, here's the thing. When it comes to the master crafted gear, that's the only thing that makes The Witcher 3 different from that of the crafting system in Elder Scrolls V. You are not able to make any kind of master crafted gear because The Witcher 3 has a much better robust way of making your type of weapons or gear. So that's what I really think what's really greatly important or amazing about The Witcher 3 is that now what we're going to do here is that we are actually going to go to a blacksmithing. And once we reach the blacksmithing in The Witcher 3, I will show you what I mean when it comes to making your materials, especially when it comes to armor. Now, like I said, I will be making a separate video on the weapons because the weapons are going to be very much more intricately detailed than what the armor is pertained to Geralt in The Witcher 3. And this is where I believe The Witcher 3 does a much better job with its crafting systems. And now what we're going to do is we are going to go need some armor made. And I will show you the differences of why I think that this is one of the best robust crafting system I've ever seen in an RPG video game like The Witcher 3. So what we're going to do here is that we are going to go to the enhanced feline boots because this is where I feel that this is another thing what I love about this game is that it will show you different required ingredients. I really do believe that the Elder Scrolls 6 would entail a better proper focus when it comes to crafting your gear, much like that Elder Scrolls 5. I believe in the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, the crafting system is a little bit bland, but however, you can be somewhat overpowered if you know how to make better alchemy potions when it comes to either enchanting or basically blacksmithing your gear or your weapons to make you that much stronger. But you can also do that in The Witcher 3 as well, but it's far more unique in terms of the stats on your gear or on your weapons. Now, what I want to do here, though, too, is I'm going to show you what these feline boots need in order to make these specific type of gear. You need the feline boots, of course, but you also need the hardened leather, you need the dark iron ore, and you also need the leather straps. Not only that, you need the hardened timber, and also you need the monster's eye, or a monster eye. I really can't say where to get these monster eye, but I will probably maybe go into further detail at some point. I just want to show you what the required ingredients to make these boots. So each kind of gear, whether if it's light armor, medium armor, or heavy armor in The Witcher 3, they will also require different types of required ingredients or resources. Sometimes they will not always use the same exact resources or ingredients to be required to make each kind of different types of gear. Like I said, whether if it's a heavy gear piece set, or a medium piece set, or a light piece set. Now, what I will do here, though, too, is that I'm actually going to re-equip the Ursine Mastercrafted gear set, which is a Witcher gear set as well. So we are going to equip this, and this is what I'm going to be talking about here, though, too, because what makes this gear set so unique, this gear set is known as the Bear gear set, and what the Bear gear set is more tailored to is more of a tank type of build. But however, when I'm going into this type of build, I'm actually using quite a few abilities to where I can use either Igni, Quen, or Ard. That's what I have on my chest piece right now. But on my gauntlets, I have the Axii, which is going to be where you can manipulate enemies' minds and be able to go do much better combat focused in that specific type of ability. That's really cool. So I did another axis sign on my boots as well, so that way I have much more better efficiency what the axis sign pertained for those two pieces of this gear set. Now, I also have the 10% axis sign intensity and the art sign intensity on my trousers. Now, what the art sign is, this is where it's really unique though too. What the art sign's intensity does is that it's like a wind blast of sorts, much like that close to what Dishonored is. Dishonored was able to use like a ability called wind blast, and you're able to just blow away enemies and send them to their deaths. However, but that's really cool though too. But so, like I said, we are going to make separate videos on what I'm talking about here when it comes to the weapons, gear, and even the enchantments. I think the enchantments is one of the best things I've ever seen in The Witcher 3, opposite of what the enchantments are in Skyrim. Because like I said, I am making just only a comparison video between Skyrim and The Witcher 3. We are now going to be talking about what kind of gear sets that you will probably be able to want to pertain with Geralt, depending on what kind of weapon style or gear style that you want to be able to use. Like I said, whether if it's heavy, medium, or light. The light armor, which is basically the feline, I believe, that's going to be more based on critical hit damage. That's more of a crit build. So I do highly advise, if you want to go with that type of route, you can. But with the medium armor or the heavy armor, like I said, with the heavy armor, it's more of a tanky, but you can also do certain types of abilities. Like I said, I'm doing like a little bit of an Axie, Igni, and vice versa. You know, I'm doing a little bit of a mix and match, as it were, with my tank build with Geralt with the Ursine armor. Now, what I'm going to do here, though, too, is that I'm going to show you something here, what's really cool about this. Now, when you have, for example, when you have the Ursine boots, I can craft these if I want to, but I'm not going to. But when you, in the world of The Witcher 3, you are able to find certain types of blueprints, which they are called diagrams. And the diagrams in The Witcher 3, however, are able to make you make specific gears in this game, and it's the same thing along with the weapons, whether if it's the silver swords or the steel swords. And that's what's so cool about The Witcher 3 though too, because like I said, with The Witcher 3, it utilizes it's more of its RPG mechanics than I do feel that what Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim did. So like I said, I'm not going to craft these, but what I'm gonna say here though too is that once you craft the Ursine boots, you will need to have that required to make the superior Ursine boots. And once you have the superior Ursine boots, you can eventually, you can eventually make either the enhanced, or you can make the master crafted. We don't see him here, but you can make the enhanced Ursine boots as well. So like I said, it depends on what product or ingredients that you use to make these specific things with the gear. That's what's really cool about this game. So that's what I want. I want to make a quick video on this because I feel like that needs to be a little bit more addressed. I didn't address this very carefully in my other video that I just made, but hopefully this will make sense of everything. So this is what I'm saying, is that every single piece, whether if you're trying to go either from the regular Ursine up to Master Crafted, when you go to Master Crafted, all these pieces right here for the required ingredients will always be different. And that's where I was saying with the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, it's all the same when you're crafting any kind of gear, whether if it's light armor, medium armor, or heavy armor. It's all the same. It's not going to be different from what The Witcher 3 does. So each steel sword and silver sword that you want to be able to provide Geralt, whether if you want to craft them or either find them. I specifically like to craft my stuff because that's where the role-playing mechanic really sets in within the world of Witcher 3. That's what I love about this game. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to making the steel swords or the silver swords, they will also require, as I previously mentioned when it came to making the gear, each resource or ingredient is always going to be different. So you want to be careful, because that's what's very intricately well designed of this crafting system in the world of Witcher 3. And I'm going to actually name off the crafting components that you will need to require to make this Toussaint steel sword, so that way you'll know if anybody or new players want to play this game. So just bear that in mind. So basically, you need leather scraps, you need dark steel ingots, you also need ruby, amber, and monster saliva. So if you want to be able to create the sword, if you are at level 48, I do highly advise making the sword because this sword looks ultimately badass. Not only that, it has to do with what each steel sword or silver chain is going to be able to pertain when it comes to its stats. Its stats is always the main focus when it comes to making either the steel sword or the silver swords. I just want to put that in there real quick as well. So now we are going to actually go to a silver sword, and this is exactly what I mean when it comes to this crafting system. Come on, let's go. Okay. We'll just go to the Weeper here. I actually previously had a sword like this, but I sold it because or dismantled it for crafting materials. But however, this is what I mean by different mechanics of ingredients of themselves, because you need cured leather, you need diamondium ingots, you need monster blood, and you also need monster claw and monster brain. I know it sounds disgusting, but it's true. This is why I love this role-playing mechanic system when it comes to the crafting in The Witcher 3. This is I can't bear this enough as to why I really think that the Elder Scrolls 6 should have something like this, because I think it would be a lot more interesting, a lot more intricate design of the world itself when it comes to the crafting systems in games like The Witcher 3. I really think that the Elder Scrolls 6 could provide a unique crafting system from what The Witcher 3 does, and it's just so cool, and that's why I love this game. This game knows what it's doing when it comes to crafting, and it shows when it comes to the attention to detail. And however, I will be making a video on the intricate design of the enchantments on your weapons, whether if it's the steel or the silver swords. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about here now is part of the rune stones. You need specific types of ingredients to make these. Now, this is where the enchanting comes in when it comes to The Witcher 3. And I believe it's one of the most interestingly and more intricate, well-designed crafting system I've ever seen when it comes to the enchanting in The Witcher 3. It's fascinating, and I love the way what your swords look like in this game once you get them enchanted. However, we will be talking a little bit about the enchanting on your gear sets as well, because so that way it could be a little bit more intricately well designed of how that's going to be used in a specific type of space while using Geralt. And it depends on what kind of enchantments that you really want to pertain to use when going up any kind of human enemies or monsters. So we'll go from there. Now, the Pirog Runestone, I really don't know what that is, but in order to make this, you actually need food and drink dumpling in order to craft this, but also you need the lesser runestone for the crafting component. And so I think that's really cool. And we'll also go delve a little bit deeper on the runestones as well after this. Now, with the Tavaric runestone, you will also need cow's milk. And you also need a lesser runestone in order to make this as well. So what I'm going to show here real quick on the map is that if you want to be able to make these types of runestones, we are in Novigrad, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. There is a blacksmith. I believe his name is Ibgerd or something like that. I'm sorry if I chastise that name, but my apologies. But he's going to be right here, close to the grindstone. And this is where you want to make runestones. But however, you will be able to make better runestones at some point, much later in the game. But I'm not going to go there just yet because I feel like that I just want to get my point across on how to make these real quick, though, too. So what I will do here real quick as well is that I want to talk more about the intricate design of the weapons themselves. And so what I want to do is I want to get into a specific type of area to where I do not get any trouble with the guards. So we're going to do this real quick. Go into a little bit of a light area. Cool. All right. So now what we're going to do here is that we're going to pop up we are actually going to equip my silver sword. This is what the silver sword looks like. We are going into photo mode. I do have runestones on this sword, so this is what I'm saying about when it comes to the Elder Scrolls 6. I really think that the Elder Scrolls 6 would greatly more benefit, of doing this type of crafting system, because this is what I'm saying when it comes to the Witcher 3's crafting system. It's more attention and intricate well to detail, and that's why I love this system in this game so much. Now, what I will say is that I will mention one thing. When it comes to putting runestones either not just in your gear but in your weapons per se, is that I have a chance to cause burning 3%, I have a chance to stagger 3%, and then I have the chance to freeze, which is 2%, which is, it's not bad. It could have been a lot better, but I'm just trying to get my point across. This is, however, part of a Witcher gear, and I do not have the Viper gear at all, but I'm sure it's kind of cool, but we're not going to worry about that right now at this moment in time. But however, I do have the Viper Venomous Steel Sword. This is going to do 328 to 400 damage, and as you can see here, it does the plus 25% art sign intensity, and we are doing a little bit of art, so that's going to be very helpful, especially since I do have the Silver Sword and the Steel Sword combined along with Geralt. Now, however, I do have the Pyrog Runestone, which is going to be kind of somewhat beneficial to the 5% chance to cause bleeding and the 3% chance to poison. And the reason why I decided to go with bleeding and poison on my Steel Sword, because I do like the damage that it provides, especially when you're going up against human enemies with the Steel Swords. Well, however, what I love about the Silver Sword, other than I previously mentioned about, you know, the chance to cause burning or to stagger or to freeze, I just think that's going to be really freaking cool with those elements. That's one thing I will heavily admit. I do like the elemental design when it comes to enchanting on your weapon specifically rather than your gear, because when you have it on when you have stuff on your gear set, that's where it's kind of somewhat different. And that's why I was saying, when you have Igni sign intensity and Quen sign intensity and the art sign intensity, that's only going to help you for your gear set. But it will also stack upon what kind of weapons that you have, either what kind of a Silver Sword you have or the Steel Sword. And I think that's going to be very, very cool. But now, this is what I'm going to say here, though, too. This is a Master Crafted Ursine Witcher gear set. So my apologies on that little pause there. So I didn't mean to do that. So this is what I love about this game, though, too. When it comes to the Master Crafted, this is going to be the highest you can go, as far as I know, because eventually you will be able to go to Grand Master. In order to get to the Grand Master crafting for the gear set specifically, or your weapons, you have to have the Blood and Wine DLC. And I do actually have that unlocked, but I haven't been able to do anything just yet with that. But I do, hopefully in time, I will be able to make much better gear with the Grand Master. So now what we're going to do here is that we are actually going to re-equip part of this other gear that I have, which is the Order of the Flame. And not only that, I actually have different types of, well, not really different types of equipment on here when it comes to the glyphs or the runestones or whatnot. Now, the glyphs is what's really helpful when it comes to, depending on what kind of playstyle that you're doing, like I previously mentioned. So basically, I actually use Quen quite a bit, excuse me, and I also use Igni, which is the fire, because I love the fire of the damage that it provides against enemies, whether if it's the monsters or the human enemies in this game, and that's what I love about this game, though, too. So another thing, though, too, what I also did is I actually ended up putting a 10% Yrden sign on my gloves, because I do use Yrden, especially when it comes to enemies that are invisible to you, and they will only become visible as long as you have the Yrden sign put down on the ground. That's going to be really cool. And not only that, I also have I do have Axii 5% of intensity and 5% of Axii again, because I like to utilize its focus of being able to disillusion or just put enemies into a catatonic state to a certain degree and just go into the fray and be that tank, you know, and just, you know, either use heavy strong attacks or light strong attacks. So that's cool. I love that. So another thing what I did, though, too, is I actually did a 2% Quen sign intensity on my trousers, but I don't know if that's gonna be that much useful, but it's whatever. Then I also have the art sign, which is really cool though, too. So This is what I love about this game, is that it utilizes so much of what kind of a style that you want to be able to use in this game. And I really do think that The Elder Scrolls 6 would be very much more cool at the same time if they utilize this type of system. I really do, because that's one thing I kind of thought about Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. It's very much, it's not very intricate as to what The Witcher 3 does when it comes to its crafting system. And like I said, I mean, I'm not going to be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 when that game eventually comes out, because I do not have I do have a PC, but it's a laptop. And however, I don't have an Xbox Series S or X. So it is what it is. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting. We are now going to be talking about weapon enchantment design when it comes onto your steel swords or your silver swords in the world of Witcher 3. This is what I'm going to be talking about here. Because I feel like this is going to be very, very interesting for some of you people out there if you are interested in playing this game. I think this is the reason why I love this game so much, like I said before. And so my apologies if I'm repeating that, but it's true. So now, what I love about these swords, specifically the steel and the silver sword, like I said here, see how this sword looks very well, intricately well designed. I love the way how it looks from its hilt to the basic other end of the sword, of the silver sword. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to attention to detail and its intricate well design. This is why I believe that Skyrim should do something like this, is because I think it would be a lot more better weapon immersion, rather than like what the steel swords actually initially look like, or the silver swords actually look like in Skyrim. Because there are silver swords in Skyrim that are only basically for undead, or for monsters, as it were, if there were monsters in the game, which there are. But this is what I'm saying about The Witcher 3. When it comes to the monsters in the world of Witcher 3, the silver sword is the only sword that can only kill monsters. Obviously, that's a little bit of a duh, but I'm just pointing this out there. Now, like I said, it's amazing what this... I mean, just look at that hilt, though. Doesn't that look sick, though? Right? But this is what I'm saying. It's like, I love the way how this sword looks. I love its design. I like the way how it looks. It's amazing. I love it. So... now we are going to exit out of photo mode, and now we are going to go to the steel sword. These swords are actually part of the Viper School. But however, the reason why I have them equipped is because it's all I can use right now, because all the other steel swords and silver swords in this game that I did eventually have are no longer viable, because they do much less damage. These weapons are going to do a higher damage and being able to provide more damage per second. So, this is another thing why I love the swords in this game, is because I believe when it comes to the attention to detail and its design, I really think that the Elder Scrolls 6 could benefit of making either their steel swords or silver swords, if it's going to have those weapons in Elder Scrolls 6, be much more intricately and well-designed immersion. I really think it will help, in my personal opinion. But however, you can see the passion in my voice. It's very well attention to detail, because this is why I love video games. I'm not making this as my profession. I'm just giving my point across as to why I really think that the Elder Scrolls 6 could be more beneficial of making their weapons a lot more intricately well designed, as The Witcher 3 does. It's so cool. I would really like to see that happen. But either or, as I previously mentioned, I will not be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 because I do not have a high-end desktop PC, nor do I have an Xbox Series X. I might maybe eventually have to invest into either one of those so that way I can play that game, but either or, it's probably going to be for a number of years for me to do so. But point being, I'm just putting this out there. But anyways, too much further ado, I really greatly appreciate for what I've been doing on my channel. I hope you liked my video on this intricately well-designed philosophies of this game, of its crafting system and everything else. And you guys have a good rest of your weekend and have a good Labor Day. Chill.